Hey guys, what is up on a Tuesday night at 8:17 Eastern Standard Time? And I'm here with my guy, Amin the Dream. Say what's up, dude, and
What's
tell them
up?
where they can
Uh,
find you at.
glad to be on, Mitch. You can find my YouTube channel at Amin the Dream. You just search it up on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. And then my Twitter handle is at Amin the Dream 13.
All right, so I just gotta ask before we dive into like football talk here. How'd you start your YouTube channel? Like, what made you get into that?
So basically, there's this 49ers YouTuber named Grant Cohn who does
Mm-hmm.
like a call-in show every weekend. And I used to call into that, and people started they started liking what I had to say. And then some of my other friends started YouTube channels like just my age, and I used to go on their channel on their platforms, and I also used to go and talk sports with them. And then I was like, why not I start my own channel and see how it goes, because I do it all the time. I go on other people's channels and try to talk sports with whoever I can. Why not start my own channel and see how it goes? So I did.
There you go. Now I'm actually a little different. I started YouTube like back 6 years ago because my friend at the time was like a huge reaction channel. Like he had 25K subscribers. And he's like, Mitch, you should start a YouTube channel. And then I'm like, all right, I was thinking about it. Then I started with movies. Then I went to video games. And then I took a huge long break in 2019. And then I came back at the bubble, NBA bubble. And then when the Sixers got swept. So that's when I came back. And I loved it ever since. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. So let's just get right into football talk. What are you nervous about for the Eagles on Sunday?
Damn, Jalen Hurts, man. Jalen Hurts had hell of a game on Sunday. And as a Niners fan, on paper, this should be a win for the Niners. But as Niners fans, after we saw what the Eagles did last week, now obviously it was the Falcons. The Falcons defense isn't that good. But I mean, Jalen Hurts played really, really well. Like really, 3 touchdowns under pressure. He was like 7 for 8, so he was playing really, really well last week. And I mean, Nick Bosa, he's black for us, but he didn't look as explosive as he did in 2019. But I'm honestly worried about the Eagles a little bit, to be honest. I mean, I think it's going to be more close than more people think. I think it's going to be a pretty tough game for the Niners to win. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely scared for Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts looked really good last week, really good.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if you saw my video last night, but I made like a respond video to Boys for Life YouTube channel, a Cowgirls fan, and he was saying how the Eagles struggled against the Atlanta Falcons, and I was just laughing the whole time, bro. Because how did Jalen Hurts struggle? It was underthrown and everything. 25 for 30. I memorized like its whole stat line, which is like amazing. 264 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, his first catch of the NFL career is a freaking touchdown. I mean, can you name a wide receiver that done that? No. So with the Eagles, the only thing I'm concerned about is the defense, the rush defense. Because you did you watch the game at all or catch a glimpse of the
I
Eagles?
catch glimpses of the Eagles game. I watched the highlights after their
Yeah.
defense of the run.
So okay, yo, what's up, Jordy? How you doing, man? Gotta get you on soon. We're gonna talk about that later. So, yeah. So in the first half, the Eagles' rush defense was a little bad. Like we let Mike Davis run all over us and Patterson run all over us, and then we got it together mostly in the second half, and then we took over from there. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. And another thing is with Jalen Hurts, I know his IQ is like really good, but I just don't because the 49ers have a better defense than the Falcons. We can agree on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm like, with the better defense, Jalen Hurts has to be, I feel like, just as prepared with his mindset. But with the football skills, it's a bigger test for him.
Definitely.
So is there anything that the Eagles should look after, like on their offense, like George Kittle or who's your running back now? Honestly, who's your
So
running?
I think they're gonna start off with Elijah Mitchell. He was our 6th round draft pick because usually Niners they usually draft a wide receiver, and we traded up for the with the Rams to get Trey Sermon, who's our third round. We drafted him in the 3rd round from Ohio State, and he was a healthy scratch. And they started Elijah Mitchell since Mostert got out, and Elijah Mitchell went for like 102 yards and a touchdown. He played pretty well, and I mean since you brought up like the Eagles defense struggling with the run, that can't happen with the Niners because Kyle Shanahan loves to run the football. Like he will run the football down your throat because that's just how the Niners will win games. Like especially with like the Debo Samuel, with like the jet sweeps that they run with Debo Samuel, and how many running backs you could put like Jermichael Hasty, Elijah Mitchell. Those guys are like 4-3, 4-3, 4-2 guys. So those guys are pretty fast. And I mean, if your defense cannot stop our run, which is really hard. Like I mean, like just the NFC Championship game, the last time we made that 2019 against the Packers, Jimmy G only had to throw the ball 7 times. And if you think about like the Packers defense, and if you look at like the Eagles defense, yes, the Packers didn't have the greatest showing last Sunday against the Saints, but the Packers defense is a pretty good defense. And I mean, if we could run the ball on the Packers defense, we should be able to run the ball against the Eagles defense. So the Eagles really have to clean that up if they wanted to have a chance to beat the 49ers. They really have to stop our run because our run is basically half of our offense. We run the football 20, 30 times a game.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about with that. And is there anything you want to see from your Niners? Like anything that you want them to like work on against the Eagles coming up that you did not see against the Lions? Like any improvement or anything?
Honestly, it's just we have to be able to finish games. That's the biggest thing for me. Like when we played last week against Detroit, we have a lead. It's like 38-10 coming into the fourth. And then if you look at the end, like I saw Lions fans leaving the stadium, and then by the time they were gone, and at the end of the game, it was like 41-33. So we shouldn't be like if that happens against the Eagles and we lose some of those games, like if we lose games down the road, like I wouldn't want that to happen, right? Because we
Yeah,
just have to be able to execute games. Like the Falcons, how they choke leads, we almost choke leads, but then at the end we get lucky with like some lucky interception, lucky tackle. We can't let that happen. Like CJ said, the defense has to play better, but we have to be able to finish games. And if we can't do that and we allow late points, we just can't score in the second half, we're not going to be able to win games like perhaps like the Eagles. We're not going to be able to beat better teams like the Seahawks or like the Cardinals or like playoff teams. We won't be able to beat them if our defense can't play well. We have to be able to finish games because if you look at with the Niners in the first half, we'll score like 20 points, 30 points. Like against Detroit, we had like 28 in the first half, and Detroit only had like 10 or 7, something like that. And then if you look at the end, like I said, it was like 41-33. So we have to be able to start the game. Obviously, we start the game really fast, really hot, and we have a bunch of points on the board. But then at the end of the game, we slow down. We can't score. Our defense can't make stops, so we can't allow that to happen this week.
right. So Ruthless, yo, what's up, man? Go watch my video today, Ruthless, if you haven't already. I just gotta say, your defense. I mean, your defense is good. Wouldn't you agree? Besides this, the first half, your defense played well, correct? First half.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. What was the final score in the first half? It was like what?
28-10.
31. Oh, okay. That's good. I mean, that's really good. 28-10. But the final score was 41-33, you said?
Yep.
Ugh. So I can see where that is. I don't want you guys to be like the Dallas Cowgirls. I mean, when they keep on losing time and time again, especially what happened in their first game on Thursday, they lost to Tom Brady. So I don't want anything like that to happen to the Niners. This is going to be a real test for both sides, I feel like. So, yeah, I really like that. And tell me more about your wide receivers and how do you feel against them against Darius Slay and Steven Nelson?
I mean, our receivers are good. I mean, Debo Samuel, obviously, he had a career game last week. He went for 189 yards and a touchdown. He was a monster in fantasy, and he had the best game of his career last week. Hopefully, he can keep that up. But one receiver that didn't play last week and didn't get any targets was Brandon Ayuk. We drafted Brandon Ayuk in the first round, and Kyle Shanahan didn't give him any targets. He was barely playing. Like, Brandon Ayuk was our first rounder, and he barely played this game. And he had like 730 yards last year, and he only played like 12 games. I think if he played full games, he could have had a potential to get 1,000 yards, but he only played 12 games last year. But we didn't include him last week in the game plan. So I definitely want to see Brandon Ayuk more. And I mean, it's going to be tough going up against Darius Slay because Darius Slay is an amazing cornerback.
Not this
Obviously,
play, right? Not this one.
Slay and Nelson are putting the love. No, they're
Not this one
not.
play, right?
No, they're not, bro. I mean, Slay is a good quarter, but Steven Nelson, I mean, he's all right. He's okay. He's not
I
anything
mean,
special. I think Brandon Ayuk and Debo got him. Slay will be a tougher matchup though. One thing I always think about when I think of Darius Slay is because I usually don't watch Eagles games, but the one time I did was last year, Seattle versus Philly, Monday Night Football. DK was just torching Darius Slay, play after play after play. But nah, he ain't doing that. Debo, now you sleeping on Debo and Ayuk, okay? Debo and Ayuk, you sleeping on them. Debo and Ayuk, they're pretty good.
what you mean Nelson put the locks on Calvin Ridley? He did. Wait, was that Big Play Slay who covered Ridley? It was Nelson or both?
I mean, really. I mean, obviously he didn't like completely shut him down like a Jalen Ramsey, but really had like 59 yards last, 60 yards and 5 receptions. So he obviously didn't put the locks on Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley had a pretty good game. I mean, not
Yeah.
a 100-yard game, but he had a decent game.
I mean, Matt Ryan just didn't have a good game at all.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have a good game. He only had 2 good series, and then it just, like, flopped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe Nelson was on a more. I don't know. Maybe it was a dual effort because sometimes with a good wide receiver, you got to rotate between corners. So, speaking of corners, how do you feel about your corners against, like, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Jalen Rager?
I'm not. I did think about the corners. Our best corner, Jason Verrett. Kyle Shanahan. I don't get it, right? We're winning by a lot. Fourth quarter, like six minutes left. And he instead of taking Verrett out, he keeps him in and Verrett towards the ACL. And he's our best corner. He's our best corner. He tears his ACL. And he's done for the season. Now, basically, our cornerbacks consist of Ambry Thomas, rookie cornerback. De'Amar Lenore, rookie cornerback. We have no necessarily veteran cornerback. We have one that we signed this week, Dre Kirkpatrick, but he's not even that good. I mean, against like last year, like against Seattle, when he was covering Seattle receiver had like 13 receptions, all combined 13 receptions on one corner. So like I'm not happy with Dre Kirkpatrick. I mean, I don't expect anything from him. The only thing I expect from him is that he's gonna bring that veteran. He's gonna bring that leadership, because he's been in the league for a bunch of years. But I'm scared because after what Devontae Smith did and Jalen Reagor, I mean Jalen Reagor is a stud, and I mean JJ Arcega-Whiteside, he's alright, but
He's
Quez
injured.
Watkins,
I don't know if he's back, but he's injured.
yeah, but I mean those 3 receivers are good. You have a young, good core receivers. So I mean, I just hope our corners can hold their own. But I think it's going to be interesting to see because majority of your receivers are young. Majority of our cornerbacks are young, especially considering that Jason Verrett did go down. So it's going to be like rookie to second-year wide receivers and cornerbacks going up against, second rookie corner wide receiver. So it's going to be fun to see the matchup.
Yeah. I really like this wide receiver core. The only thing I could take is a veteran wide receiver. Like, I would definitely, like Larry Fitzgerald. Is he on the Cardinals, Fitzgerald, or is he a free agent? I'm still confused.
I don't even think he's on the Cardinals because I didn't see him playing. I think he's still a free agent. I remember like hearing a report that he's not interested in coming. I obviously if he gets signed by the Cardinals, I think he would, but he's not like in a rush to get back to football. At least that's what I heard.
Yeah. So for me, I would definitely take a veteran wide receiver to help to mentor these young guys, even though they're good right now and they fit the offense with Jalen Hurts, but it can't hurt to have mentorship on the bench, like in the NBA, for example. So I just gotta ask. Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo both played, right? They both played a couple days ago. So who's your number one QB? Is it Garoppolo or is it Lance?
So it's Garoppolo. As Niners fans coming into the season, as a Niners fan, I wanted Lance to start, obviously, because he's a mobile quarterback. And I mean, just how like you Philly fans probably when Carson Wentz was trash last year, you guys were like bring in Hurts. But I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, he didn't play bad against Detroit. But one thing I will say about Jimmy G is that he's getting paid like $28 million. And my concern about Jimmy G is not that he can't play. It's just that if he gets injured, we're screwed, right? Because we're gonna have to pay him that $28 million. When if we cut him before the season, we could have saved like $28 million in cap space. We would only have to pay we'd only have like $2.8 million in dead money. So let's say we cut Jimmy G before the season, we wouldn't have to pay him, and we wouldn't have to have that risk or that liability that if he gets injured, we're screwed, right? Obviously, I want Trey Lance to start. That's not going to happen. But last week, what they did with Trey Lance is they brought him in for some plays. For the first quarter, he scores that touchdown. Kyle Shanahan said that was on accident. He said he didn't mean for that to happen. I'm like, okay, I don't get that, but
What?
like Trey Lance just came in and he's at the second quarter. Then I understood that when they asked Kyle Shanahan, "Are you bringing these both quarterbacks and doing this two quarterback system?" And he's like, "No." In the first possession, we honestly it just happened on accident. We didn't actually intend that for that to happen. But they did bring on Trey Lance on third down plays. Third down plays in those situations where if it's a 3rd and 20 or something like that, they'll just fake the handoff and he'll just run with the football. It wasn't working. It really wasn't. Like Trey Lance had like 3 carries and 2 yards. Like it just wasn't working what they were doing with Trey Lance. But I expect to see Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't expect to see Trey Lance maybe for 1 or 2 possessions against the Eagles. Not 1 or 2 possessions. I mean like 1 or 2 snaps. But
I see. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think Jimmy G is going to be the quarterback unless Jimmy G gets hurt or he just straight up flops and he's like throwing interceptions, just like unless he just plays horrible. I really don't see Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch making the decision to switch from Jimmy G to Trey Lance.
Now, I was watching the game, but I get alerts on my phone. Did Jimmy G, his first snap, go over his head or something?
No, so basically Alex Mack, he snapped the ball, it hit his butt, and then he drops it, and Jimmy G's like trying to grab the ball, and then Detroit picks up the ball.
Oh my God, that was the first snap?
That was the first snap. We're like, oh, I was pissed, right? Because I'm like, Jimmy, get off the field. Jimmy, you can't like catch a snap. Like again, it's like Alex Mack, bro. He's a Pro Bowl center, and you can't even catch a snap. Like, just get off.
Oh my God. I can't, I mean, I can just imagine how the 49er fans, CG Ruthless, if you were here, please tell me what was going through your mind right there. Like, oh my God. Is that work? I mean, the butt fumble still works from the Sanchez, but that's close. That is close.
Yep.
So, what do you expect out of George Kittle? Better game than last time?
It honestly all depends, right? Because if we're running the football a lot, George Kittle will still have a good game. But it's honestly George Kittle. When it comes to Jimmy G obviously will target George Kittle to a certain extent. But Jimmy G's number one target isn't necessarily George Kittle. If you look back at his like 1,000-yard, 1,300-yard season, majority of the time his quarterbacks were Nick Mullins and C.J. Beathard. And when those quarterbacks were there and they were under center, George Kittle would have like 150-yard games, 200-yard games. Now, Jimmy G does target George Kittle, but let's say if Debo's playing as a wide receiver instead of running jet sweeps a lot or Ayuk, he'll go to Debo. Last week, his favorite target was Debo, and he would just throw the ball to Debo over and over and over again. So, honestly, all depends, but I definitely expect a big game from George Kittle. I expect him to hopefully have 100 yards. Honestly, I expect him to have 100 yards if Debo Samuel doesn't have a big game or anything like that. But I definitely expect George Kittle to have a 100-yard game. But I have a question for you if you don't mind.
Go for it.
As an Eagles fan, don't you ever get mad at Howie Roseman? Obviously, he made the good decision of Devontae Smith. But when you look back, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you could have had DK Metcalf for A.J. Brown. Or you could have had I thought he should have been Rookie of the Year, and Justin Jefferson, who had 1,400-yard season. What was your reaction when you saw like some of those picks as an Eagles fan?
So, like, I'm gonna go back to the Jalen Hurts pick because right there, I thought that was the worst pick in history. Because we needed like a wide receiver or a linebacker or a corner. So then I was like, why would you draft a quarterback in the second round? Like, why? And then now with Carson Wentz, like that whole scenario, I mean, it's good now, but then we did not need a second quarterback. Then we did not. So, I mean, and then you go with Andre Dillard, right? We drafted him in the first round. Like, there were a couple really good picks right there, players available we could have taken. But now Andre Dillard is like it's like playing line 2. And I'm like, he lost a job to Jordan Mailata, a rugby player, 7th round. And I'm like, what is left for this guy? What is left for Andre Dillard? Obviously, we should trade him, in my opinion, maybe for like a linebacker or some picks or something. Because our linebackers, in my opinion, they're not that good. I mean, that's our like weak spot in our defense. That's why I think George Kittle is going to dominate. That's what I really think with the Eagles defense. But with Howie Roseman and what he did this year, like Devontae Smith, Anthony Harris, Steven Nelson, Eric Wilson, Ryan Kerrigan, these guys, he's trying to save his job. He's trying to save his job. So he's on the hot seat right now. He's on the hot seat. And with obviously he has Whiteside on the team and he cut Travis Fulgham, John Hightower, and people were like, why would you cut these two guys? And obviously they're better than I think a Whiteside. So he made some question moves. He does, but that's with every general manager. You feel that about yours? Like
So
questions his
the
moves?
perfect player, like how you brought up, they didn't cut Arcega Whiteside. The perfect player for the Niners is Jalen Hurd. Now, same draft. I think of as thing when we could have had DK. He drafts Jalen Hurd. Jalen Hurd first preseason game has 2 touchdowns and 130 yards against the Cowgirls.
Mm-hmm.
Then he got in torn ACL, torn Achilles, and now he's on. And we brought him back this year, and guess what? He's on IR. So like you bring him back, number one, and then he's on IR. You give him a roster spot, and he didn't even prove anything in the preseason game. He dropped like 2 passes and only had like 10 yards, and you bring him back just for his upside. Like, what upside does this guy have now? He has a torn ACL, and he has a torn Achilles. Like, he's not going to be the Jalen Hurd that you saw in 2019, 2018 in the preseason. He's not the same Jalen Hurd. After you go through so many injuries, you can't see on the field. And his injuries aren't like in games. His injuries are just him working on like training camp and practice where he's running a wide open route or he's just running a route. And practices aren't like all heavy. We run simple practice and he's torn ACL, torn Achilles. I'm like, and you brought him back? Like, why would you bring the guy back and give him a roster spot when he doesn't even play? He's just taking up a roster spot, and then the whole year he's just on an IR for you. And even when he plays, he's not an impactful player. Like, when George Kittle misses games, we miss him a lot because he's an impactful player for the Niners. When we do have George Kittle, he balls out. Jalen Hurd hasn't even played a regular season game, and he's injured majority of the time. He doesn't have an impact on this team. And he doesn't have as many injuries as George Kittle or any of the other players on the Niners, where he has like a torn ACL, torn Achilles, broken foot, or whatever. He just gets injured too much. And the fact that the Niners gave him a roster spot just pisses me off.
Yeah. So Gabe brings up a point. Vikings are better than the Eagles. What do you think about that?
I mean, if you're just looking based off rosters, right? If you're looking based off like at who got bigger names, if you just look at roster wise, obviously I would say the Vikings, right? Because if you look at their offense, you got like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. If Kirk Cousins plays well, that's the starting quarterback. You have Dalvin Cook, who's a top 3, top 5 running back in football. You guys like Danielle Hunter, who are Pro Bowl defensive linemen who opted out last year, but when they play the last 2 seasons that Danielle Hunter played, he had 14.5 sacks per season. So Danielle Hunter is also a stud. You brought back Everson Griffin. So you got some good pieces on the Vikings if you're just looking at rosters. Obviously, the Eagles do have a good roster, but this is a very young roster. Like Jalen Hurts, second year in the league. Devontae Smith, first year in the league. Jalen Reagor, second year in the league. You got some young, good, talented pieces. But if you're just based off rosters, I would say the Vikings. But honestly, it's too hard to say, like, who's better after 1 week, right? Because you're getting back into it, you know. You're not as ready for football season. Once it comes a couple of weeks, and let's say the Eagles are 5-0, and let's say the Vikings are 0-5, right? Then we can make that statement and say, hey, like the Eagles are 100% better. But just because the Vikings lost doesn't mean that the Vikings are a worse team than the Eagles. But I definitely liked what the Eagles did this Sunday. But I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say the Eagles are a better team than the Vikings. I would say the Vikings are definitely a better team.
Yeah, I got the Vikings as well because right now we're rebuilding. This is not like we're not going all in this year. Yes, we want to win games, but we are not like in a hurry to go far. The Vikings are up there. The Vikings are like, I would say like top 5 teams in the NFC, you think? Like top 5, top 10 around there. So with the Vikings, with the Vikings, I can definitely see them being better than the Eagles. But I think we have a better quarterback, Jalen Hurts, than Kirk Cousins. That's just me. But yo, football talk with Benny. What is good? Gonna be on my channel tomorrow at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go sub to this kid. Go sub to him. He's a very cool kid. I like him a lot. A Giants fan, so we're definitely gonna talk about the Giants and Eagles. It should be fun. So I just wanted to bring this up. Okay, how far do you see the Niners going realistically this season?
I honestly think with a healthy team, with health, because with the Niners is honestly even last year we could have made the Super Bowl if we just had a healthy team, right? Obviously the Bucks are an obstacle, but with a healthy team, we would have been a playoff team. We would possibly win the division because obviously that last year the Rams had Jared Goff. We beat them twice. The Arizona Cardinals also didn't make the playoffs. We would have had a chance to win the division and we would have made a playoff. We would have gotten a playoff spot. I think we would have made at least to the divisional round, if not to the NFC Championship game. Because we know what the Niners did to Green Bay. We've seen it already twice. Not just in the regular season, but even in the playoffs. Like, we dominate the Packers. And I mean, the Packers did not look good last Sunday. They just didn't. They just didn't. Like, if you look at some of Aaron Rodgers' throws, you're like, what are you doing? Like, he has time in the pocket. And you see, if you saw the game, like, he threw an interception to Marcus Williams. And there's like two people on Devontae Adams. He's just like trying to throw a 50-yard. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's just not what Aaron Rodgers does. Last year, Aaron Rodgers had like 5 interceptions. This year, he already has 2 interceptions. So we know what the Niners can do to the Packers. So honestly, all depends based off health, right? If we have a healthy team, I could see the Niners going far. But this year, the division is tough. It's really tough. But I definitely see us getting a wild card spot, at least a wild card spot. If not win the division, I definitely see the Niners getting a wild card spot. Whether Jimmy's the quarterback, whether Lance is the quarterback with a healthy team, because this division is stacked. So I can't say 100% that, hey, we're going to win the division because Matthew Stafford looked amazing. Russ looks like Russ pretty much every year. He's looking good. And even the Cardinals, Kyler Murray got me a lot of fantasy points, and he also balled out. Had like 5 touchdowns, 200, 300 yards. So Kyler Murray also balled out. So the division is very, very tough. So I honestly hope we can at least get a wild card spot. But if we're healthy and we should be able to beat the Rams. If we can beat the Rams, I definitely can see us winning the division. But I definitely see us getting a playoff spot this year.
I can see that as well. Your division is tough. That's a very tough division. That could be the best division in the NFC conference. I really think that could be up there.
I think it's the best division in football because if you look at some people bring up like the AFC North, right, where you
Yeah,
have the Steelers, you have the Bills, you have not the Bills, you have the Steelers, you have the Ravens, and you have the Browns. But like if you look at the Bengals aren't a playoff team. Where if you look at all 4 of the teams in our division, all 4 could make the playoffs.
yeah,
All 4 could make the playoffs because all 4 teams have the roster to do it. They have the talent to do it. All 4 rosters have quarterbacks. They all have good run games. They all have defenses. They all have stacked. If you look position to position, just teams. They all have stacked teams. All 4 teams could make the division. I mean, all 4 teams could make the playoffs. So I think the NFC West is the best division because all 4 teams can make the playoffs. All 4 teams honestly can make the playoffs. But if you look at the AFC North, I don't think the Bengals can make the playoffs. Even if all other three teams potentially could make the playoffs, I don't see the Bengals getting a playoff spot. So I feel like the NFC West, I feel like all 4 teams could get a playoff spot. So I think the NFC West is easily the best division in football.
yeah. I can agree with that. I thought it would be that what you said before with the Ravens and them, but knowing what the Ravens did last night, the choke. I mean, I see them getting wild card after that because a choke like that can happen repetitive in the NFL season. Anything can happen. So knowing that, I don't have the Ravens winning at all. I just don't.
I mean,
So
the Ravens. Sorry to cut you off,
no, no,
but
no. You're good. You're good.
but like the Ravens, right? If you look at the Ravens, the Steelers, they weren't expected to beat the Bills. The Bills were expected to put like 40 points up on the Steelers. Yes, they have a good defense, but if you look at what the Bills did last year, they were torching teams. Outside of Kansas City, they were beating teams by a good margin. Where we didn't expect them to beat the Bills, their defense played pretty good. Ben Roethlisberger did enough. He didn't turn over the football. Their defense pretty much held their own against the Bills' offense, and they beat the Bills, which they weren't expected to beat in Buffalo. So the Steelers, if they keep this up with their defense, if they keep it up and they're able to win games, who knows what the Ravens will do? Because the Ravens had the best opportunity to win a football game. They were up 17-zip, 14-zip. The Raiders come back. I was watching the game, and I mean, like, if Lamar fumbles the ball twice a game, you have Marcus Peters injured. You already have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, all torn ACLs. Lamar has to step up, and he can't. I feel like Lamar is always going for, like, yesterday, at least from yesterday, he was trying to go make big plays and splash plays every time he had to throw the football. I always saw him looking deep and trying to make a big splashy play. Like, do what you're good at. Try to make good throws. Try to make good decisions. And you're really good at running the football. Don't try to go after those big plays all the time. And sometimes, like, even Lamar, like, he was trying to look for a pass where, if you look at his MVP season, he would run out of the pocket. He would scramble. He would juke. He would get, like, 40, 30-yard touchdowns. And he would just juke, and he would be so fast, like, defenders couldn't catch him. Where last night he didn't do that. And if they keep choking leads, and if Lamar doesn't play well, he keeps fumbling the football, who knows what will happen? Because the Steelers look good, and so did the Browns.
Yep. I agree with that wholeheartedly. How do you see your offensive line going up against our defensive line? How do you see that?
I'm not worried about that at all, to be honest. Your defensive line, outside of Fletcher Cox, you and them.
I mean, we have Cox, Graham, and we also got, what's the other guy? He had 2 sacks last time. I forget his name. It will come back to me. But
Cox and Graham, they're good, but Cox has to go up against Alex Mack, who's a studded center. And then if you look at Graham, I think he plays defensive end, if I remember correctly. He's good. If he goes up on that left side, he has to play Trent Williams, who's just gonna pancake him. So I mean, I'm not worried about your defensive line that much. Obviously, the only thing that I'm worrying about your Eagles team is that we have injured Jason Verrett. So I just want to see how well Jalen Hurts, if he can cook Miles Sanders in that offense. But I'm really not that scared of your defense, because I know the Niners, I have faith in Kyle Shanahan to run the ball. He's so good at the run game, where I've never seen a team pretty much stop the run that well. Like, we usually do really well with the run game. And if the run game gets going, I'm not worried about it. Obviously, you have beaten us the last 2 matchups. But even if Jimmy G does go down, we have Trey Lance. So, I mean, it's going to be a good matchup. But our offensive line, I'm not worried about it, because we have Trent Williams, stud, Alex Mack, stud, Laken Tomlinson, who's solid. He's solid. Dude,
whoever you are, make sure you subscribe to both of us. Whoever Carson Wentz, please subscribe to both of us. Who is this kid? Sounds like an ESPN pro. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Gabe. And where the hell is everyone at? I don't know, man. You tell me. You tell me, man. Where's everybody at? But yeah, Amin really knows his stuff, and I'm glad you're on the show. And we're gonna do it again real soon. But I just want to talk about this real quick. I just want to talk about it now. Record predictions for the Niners and Eagles. Okay. You want me to go first, or do you want me? You.
If you want to go first, go ahead.
All right, I'll go first. So for the Eagles, I got 9-8. Okay. I don't want them to realistically, it's not going to be like 14-3, 15-4, 15-2. It's still weird with the 17 games.
I don't even expect the Niners to go 15-2, 14-3. So if the Niners don't do it, there's no way the Eagles are doing it.
I know, right? And I'm just like, so for the Eagles, I think 9-8 will be perfect. I've seen like 7-10s, which is respectable. I've seen like 4 wins, and I'm like, 4? Yeah, that's a little bit too low.
Yeah.
So for the Niners, you know what? I'm going to need you to go for this one, and then I'll come back to it. So what do you have?
So for me, for the Eagles, I'm going to go. I know this is not a popular opinion, because obviously I'm on an Eagles channel. I don't see them. I would say for me, it's probably somewhere where like 7 or 9, 7-9, or somewhere.
You
like
mean 8-9?
8-9, 8-9,
Yep.
or I see them 9-8. I see them somewhere around that range, right? Because obviously my thing with the Eagles is that I don't have a problem with their offense, because with their offense, it's good. It has some young pieces. Their offense is good. But number one, sometimes I want Jalen Hurts to succeed, but I don't know how well Jalen Hurts necessarily will do, let's say against the Niners, or let's say against Kansas City, right? Those are for me Jalen Hurts prove it game. Okay, obviously he did against Atlanta, and people are getting hyped right? But can he do it against a good defense? Can he do it against a solid, good defense? Because if you let's say the Eagles make the playoffs, they're not gonna go up against bad defenses. Jalen Hurts isn't gonna go up against the Falcons defense. Jalen Hurts is gonna have to go up against a good defense, and I want to see how well he does against them. But my problem with you is Jalen Hurts is one of those things that I don't know yet. But my real problem with the Eagles is their defense. Their defense is just not that great. It's decent. It's good. It's just not that great. It's not amazing. It's not top 10 defense in the league. That defense needs improving. And I just don't know how reliable that defense is, your Eagles defense is. So that's why I'm going to say somewhere where 8-9 or 9-7. I mean, 8-9 or 9-8.
I
Something
respect
like
that. I do.
right? I just don't know how well that defense is. Because if you're looking at like how you brought up the schedule, like, are they going to be able to beat Kansas City? Will they be able to beat like Dallas twice? They could go with a split. I could see them going a split, but like, will they be able to beat Dallas twice, or will they be able to, necessarily beat Tampa or like, good teams, and even the division games, right? If you look at the division games, if the Eagles defense isn't playing good, let's say against Dallas or let's say against Washington football team, who knows if they're going to be able to win two divisional games against the Eagles or the Washington football team or the Cowboys. I definitely see them being able to win one in each. I think they should be able to win one in each because the Eagles are a good team, but those division games matter. And if you look at their schedule is relatively tough, but that defense is the one thing that's holding me from saying, hey, they're a 10 or 11 team or they're going to win the division because their defense just needs a lot of improvement, a lot of rebuilding. So that's my only concern about the Eagles, but I definitely see the Eagles going 8-9. I mean, 8-9 and 9-8, something like that. But with my Niners now, obviously, I don't know if you looked at the schedule, but the Niners schedule is pretty easy, to be honest. Now, the
Okay,
only
I'll throw it up. Keep talking. I'll
now
pull it.
with the Niners, for me, honestly, this is divisional games. Because if we're able to win the divisional games, I know this is a bold statement, and I'm not saying that we are going to do this. But if once Mitch brings up the schedule, but if you just look at our schedule, the
Yep. Give me one
schedule is
second.
pretty easy. We have to go up against teams like Houston. We have to go up against teams like Cincinnati. We have to go up against teams like last week we played Detroit, right? Obviously, we almost lost to Detroit, but Detroit isn't a good team. We go up against pretty easy teams this year. Now,
What's good, Vic?
if we look at the divisional games, if we can't win the divisional games and we split each divisional games, and I could see those losses, right? 4 losses or something like that. But if we just look at majority of the game, I think we should be able to pretty much win majority of the regular season games. Like how we have Philly. I don't know about Philly, but I still think we should come out as the victor. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I still think we has a pretty good chance of coming out as a victor. Like Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers continues to play like Aaron Rodgers that he played last week, we should have an easy W. Like, I pray that Aaron Rodgers sucks like he did in Jacksonville yesterday. Because if he does, we should be able to beat Green Bay. Now, Seattle and Arizona, those are divisional games. So if we lose those are some of those losses that I see, like, if we lose divisional games. And, like, the Bears should be an easy win. Now, the Colts, if you're looking at the Colts, like, honestly, I think we should be able to beat the Colts. Obviously, Carson Wentz, he just didn't play good last week. Now, it is week 1, but if Carson Wentz doesn't continue to play well, I think we should be able to have that win. I think it's going to be a close one, but I think we pull that out. Now, the Rams, that's going to be a tough game also. Like I said, it's just going to be those divisional games. Those divisional games, if we can't win those divisional games and we split divisional games, that's where I see those losses against the Rams or Seattle or Arizona. But majority of the schedule, I think we have a pretty good chance of winning majority of our games, like outside the division. Now, the only 2 games, like I said, is Indianapolis and the Titans are the only 2 games outside of the division where I'm actually like, oh, we actually have a chance to lose these games. But outside of that, our schedule's easy, and I think we should be able to win majority of the games. The only thing is those divisional games and obviously Tennessee and the Indianapolis Colts. But my record prediction, honestly, would probably be somewhere 11-5, 12-4, 13-4. I mean, 13-4, 12-5, something like that. Because, I mean, I definitely see us losing some divisional games. But, I mean, we should be able to beat Indianapolis. We should be able to beat Derrick Henry and the Titans. So, I mean, it's just those divisional games for me and some of those matches that I told you.
The Rams and Seattle are going to be tough.
Definitely.
Yeah, they are. Definitely.
Definitely.
I agree with you.
Like, we
So
could win. We could win. Sorry to cut you off, but we could win like 12 to 13 games and we could be like second in the division. Like that's how good the division is. And if Matthew Stafford continues to play the way he did, if Russell Wilson's offensive line and defense can play well, if we could win so many games, 10, 11 games, and we could be second or third in the division. Like that's how good the NFC West is. So it's definitely gonna be tough.
Eagles will win the division. I'm like 50-50 on that. I need to watch more games and
Yeah.
get to know my team a little more since this is like our first year with this roster. So I need to see more on that. And Cardinals ain't nothing to sneeze at either. Right. The Cardinals are
Yep.
very good as well.
hmm The
Okay,
thing
we're
for
not going 17-0.
no, no, bro, like that's not gonna happen. That's that like no, I don't even see like the Chiefs or the Bucks going 17-0. Like obviously the Chiefs have potential to go 17-0, but they're gonna lose a game in the 17 game schedule. I honestly the game that I could see them losing is not even a game like where let's say Patrick Mahomes is playing. I could see them losing the last game of the season if they set out their starters. Like they could sit out Mahomes, they could sit out Tyreek, and let's say they're playing who are they playing last game? Like if they played the Denver Broncos or they play the Chargers, I could see them losing that game because they sit out Mahomes and they sit out Tyreek and they sit out majority of the starters. So I could see them losing.
There you go, Vic. I got you. 12-5 for the Eagles.
That defense,
Maybe.
man. It's
It's the
honestly all on that.
defense for me as well because it's Jonathan Gannon is a new system. I know we have players like Eric Wilson that played under him. That helps a little bit, but I'm like, I need to see more with the Falcons in the first half. The rush that just killed me, honestly. I was on a live stream with Cool Cat Connor, another Eagles content creator, and I was just like this for like the whole half. And I'm like, oh, there they go again. There they go again. There they go again. I freaking hated it. I did. So I need to go through each game one by one because this is my first time going through the schedule here. So 49ers won. Okay. I'm sorry, but I got the Eagles winning here. I'm sorry. But I got you guys beating the Packers after what I saw last time. But Aaron Rodgers did say that it was only one loss, but it looked horrendous.
It
It
did.
looked
It did.
terrible. So yeah, I got two wins right there. Seattle and 49ers. Uh I got you here, so that's three. I got 49 you against I got the Cardinals here. So that's I still got three wins here. I
I
got you
could see
guys
that. I'm
being
not.
the
I'm not
Colts.
mad at that at all. I could definitely
Yeah.
see Seattle, and I could see Seattle and Arizona beating us. But majority of these games, I expect the Niners to split. Just how I expect like the Eagles to split majority of these games. I expect the Niners to split majority of these games. If not win both, I expect them to split. At least I expect them to split because
Yeah.
majority of these teams are really hard.
I still can't believe the Raiders won that game, man. I still
hmm
can't believe it. Like that is just so hard. Yep. There will be highs and lows this season. We can't get too fixated on the highs, but it's fun to enjoy being at the top. I agree, it is. I agree. That's why I don't like run with it. Like I'm not one of those guys who think we're division winners going into the playoffs. I'm not like that guy.
Like,
My
did you
dad
did you
raised
see the Cowboys fans this Thursday after they almost beat the Buccaneers? They're like, "Yo, this is like, there's no moral victories in football. Please, please, like, there's no moral victories in football. No matter what you say, like, as an Irish fan, I know that. Like, we almost beat the Chiefs, but we didn't beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Okay, like we almost did it, but we didn't. So like, we can't be like, oh, that's a moral victory, blah blah blah. You almost beat them. That doesn't matter. You didn't come out as the victor. You didn't win the game. There's no moral victories in football. Like yes, they did impress last week, the Cowgirls. They did. But who knows if they suck the rest of the season? Like they could lose to Justin Herbert and the Chargers next week. Justin Herbert was lights out on third down against a good Washington football team's defense. Washington's football team has an amazing defense and defensive line, and Justin Herbert was 14 for 17 on third downs. So like, why are Cowboys fans getting so hyped up and they're like, oh, we're just looking good, blah 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 blah. Like you guys could lose. You're not playing a playoff team until week 10, week 11, but you could lose 3 or 4 of those games, not even going up against playoff teams because they're just the Cowboys. To be honest, they're the Cowboys. They find a way to choke or to screw it up. I'm just being honest. They just do.
Yeah. So I have you guys being the Colts, so I think that's 4. I got you guys being the Bears, that's 5. And then I had you guys lose here. I'm gonna have you guys win here against the Cardinals. I most of the time go split. Whenever it's the defense, I always go split. Because either way, if we lose, I'm like, hey, the other one's a win. Like guaranteed. Rams, how good is their defense, you think?
Rams defense is good. But I
It's good.
definitely Rams defense is good. But here's the one thing I will say about the Rams defense is that Brandon Staley, his defense last year was mainly focused on playing the safeties deep, and they didn't really care about the run. Where they would let teams run, but their safeties they would mainly focus on limiting the pass, and that's why Brandon Staley's defense was really good because they didn't really care about run. They wouldn't really try to focus on stopping the run. They would play the safeties deep, and they would focus on limiting the pass, and that's why the defense was number one last year in the league because they would focus on specifically limiting the pass and every team's pass game. But now that Brandon Staley's the coach of the Chargers, that defense is definitely going to take a step down. But I definitely see the defense still being top 10, top 5, someone like that, top 7. The defense is definitely going to take a step down.
Yeah. So I got you guys losing here to the Rams, and I got you guys being Jacksonville.
Easily. Jacksonville's a dub.
The Vikings, um, ooh, I got a win here. I got you guys at a win. I
Yes.
uh, I had you guys losing to Seattle first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna flip it. So I'm gonna have you guys win that and lose this one because this one's at the Seattle 12-man dome or whatever. So I got you guys being the Bengals. I got you guys being the Falcons. I got you guys losing to the Titans right now. Got you guys being the Texans, and I got you guys being the Rams here. So that's like around 11, 12 I got for you. I got like 11 or 12. I think that's very respectable, even though your division is tough. Like your division is tough. So I got that 12 right there, and you could be first or second. Like either way, that's really good. And that just depends if when do you think it's possible for Trey Lance to take the starting job from Jimmy G sometime during the season?
Nah, like I said before, like the only way I see Trey Lance getting a starting job is Jimmy G has to play bad. And it can't just be like, he has to play like really bad. Like not just one interception or one fumble. He has to play bad. Like he has to throw like 2 interceptions, can't complete a pass, getting sacked over and over again. Like he has to be really bad or he has to be injured. Which both of those things are a possibility, which I see more as the injury thing because Jimmy G gets injured so much. The only season that we had a full season with him is 2019. Otherwise, all the other seasons he's been injured. 2018 torn ACL. Last year he was injured with a high ankle sprain for majority of the year. So honestly, the only 2 ways I see Trey Lance taking over the job is either Jimmy gets injured or Jimmy just plays ridiculously bad. And if Trey Lance would have won the job already, he would have been in training camp. And if he did win the job, like how Mac Jones beat out Cam Newton, and they were 100% confident in that, then they would have already cut Jimmy or they would have benched Jimmy, and Jimmy wouldn't like that necessarily because Jimmy doesn't want to be on the bench. No quarterback necessarily wants to be on the bench because especially with a quarterback position or just any professional athlete in general, you're that guy. Like you think as any professional athlete, you think you're that guy, and especially when it comes to quarterback, it's not easy being a backup quarterback. It's not like
Mhm.
you think you should be the starter. You think you're the guy. You think you're the man to be the starter. And I mean, nor Trey Lance or Jimmy G likes to be on the bench, or would like to be on the bench. So only way I would see Trey Lance would win the job is if he did it in training camp or he did it, in one of those preseason games where he played amazing. But we didn't see that from Trey Lance, and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch didn't think they see that from Trey Lance yet. So I really don't see it unless Jimmy gets injured or he plays ridiculously bad.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say this about Jimmy G. I forgot about it earlier, but thank God you brought him up. Well, I kind of had to. But to me, remember when he was on the Patriots and he was like undefeated, and then they traded him to the 49ers, you guys. So at that point, I was like, the Patriots got rid of a good backup quarterback because he was always there. He hit his punches, like he did everything he was supposed to do. But the only thing that kills him is the injuries. So for me, I feel like he's an underrated quarterback when healthy. That's honestly what I feel.
Yep. I mean, Jimmy G isn't necessarily a bad quarterback. Now, if you've been on my channel, I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. I just don't because number one, he lost
Oh,
his.
okay. I didn't know that. I forgot.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But for me, I don't like Jimmy G. I really don't because Jimmy G just hasn't played on the field. He's cost the Niners a Super Bowl, which made me like I had the Jimmy G jersey on the whole Super Bowl. I was like, oh, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I even had like a little like fake Super Bowl ring on my finger. I was like, let's go. We're gonna win a chip. And then wide open pass to Emmanuel Sanders. First time they had Jimmy to throw the ball. First time they actually put the game in Jimmy's hands, and he just screwed up and he choked. So I really didn't like Jimmy G after that point. And then also last year, like he got injured. He just gets injured too much. Now I don't necessarily say I don't like Jimmy G because of like he doesn't play well when he's on the field. My necessarily hate for Jimmy G is that he just can't stay on the field. It's not the way he plays on the field, just that he can't stay on the field. And especially considering the contract that they gave him, right? He wins you 6 games. 6 meaningless games. Obviously they were against good teams, but he wins you 6 meaningless games. And you decide to give him a Dak Prescott type contract? Like that, you decide to give him a Dak Prescott type contract. Like Dak Prescott had to play like 3 to 4 seasons, stay majority of the time he was healthy outside of last year, and he got a contract after 3 to 4 years. You give Jimmy G that after 6 games? That's insane to me. And when you look back on the decision, that's not a good decision by Kyle and Shanahan and John Lynch because he just couldn't play and he couldn't stay on the field. Now, Jimmy G's not a bad quarterback when he plays, but my only issue with Jimmy G is he just can't stay on the field.
Right, right. I agree with that 100%. All right, guys, we're at 9 likes. It's one more to 10, and I really appreciate that. I just want to say this. Let's just go to score predictions right now. We're getting close to an hour. So, what's your score prediction for this game?
I'm gonna go. I don't think this is gonna be a necessarily high scoring game. I'm gonna go 28-24. I think the Niners are gonna win it. Now, I think it's gonna be relatively close. Obviously, you guys think you're gonna win this, but trust me, Jalen Hurts is gonna have a struggle against the Niners defense. And I don't know who your left tackle is. I don't know if your left tackle. I don't know who that is, but if Nick Bosa comes back and he has a game, that's gonna be trouble for your left tackle and Jalen Hurts because we have a good defensive line. D Ford, he's back healthy. Eric Armstead, and hopefully Javon Kinlaw. Like last week, we were getting destroyed by the run because we didn't have Javon Kinlaw. If we have a healthy offensive line with Javon Kinlaw coming back, we should be able to win this game. And I think it's going to be I think it's going to be close because I have faith in Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts is not going to have a 3-touchdown game in the same performance that he had against Atlanta. And I think the Niners are I think they're going to pull this one out, and I think they're going to go 2-0.
I agree with that. And for me, I got the Eagles winning 24-21. I feel like the defense, if they could stop the rush from the start to get go, that would be great. That would be really great to hear. And we need Jalen Hurts to do the same thing but better. But do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. No, not with that defense. So I got the Eagles winning 24-21. Guys in the chat, what do you have the score predictions going to be? Because I cannot wait for this game because people are calling this the real test. And they were saying last week was just a preseason game. So for me, it was just like, if they win this one, right? If the Eagles win, people are still going to hate on the Eagles. It's just the thing to do. It's
Yeah,
just
if the
really.
Eagles win this one, I would come out and say like, yo, the Eagles are real deal, right? Because the Eagles, as they are able to beat the Niners in that defense, they're the real deal. Because I mean, the Niners defense is a good defense, but this game is on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. Like Jalen Hurts has to carry, because we already know the defense is gonna struggle a little bit. The defense, I mean, there's not a team that can efficiently stop the Niners run, and the Niners don't have like a CMC. They don't have a Derrick Henry. They don't have like a Dalvin Cook. You plug in like Mostert. You plug in like like Elijah Mitchell or someone like that, and our run game is efficient. We really good, like 5 yards per carry. Our run game is really good. We're like backup. We're like not like backup running backs and not like necessarily starting caliber running backs, and our run game is really good. Honestly, it honestly all depends on how well Jalen Hurts can play. If Jalen Hurts can play well and he can play like he did last week, he still has to have a much better game though, because he can't, like, 3 touchdowns probably won't be enough. If the Niners can get the run game going, and if your defense struggles, Jalen Hurts has to play exceptionally well, which I don't necessarily think is gonna happen. I don't think Jalen Hurts is gonna play horrible, but I think Jalen Hurts is gonna have 1 touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns. He's not gonna have the same game that he did had last week, but it honestly is all dependent on Jalen Hurts. How well can Jalen Hurts play? How well can he throw the football? How well can he go to how well can he get the team downfield? How well can Miles Sanders play? If Javon Kinlaw comes back, how well can Miles Sanders, can he efficiently run? Can he efficiently get yards per carry? It honestly all depends on Jalen Hurts and how well he could, you know, play well. That's honestly all it is. How well can Jalen Hurts play? And if he doesn't play well, the Eagles are screwed, because I already know the defense isn't going to be able to stop the Niners. I'm just being honest. The defense is not going to be able to stop the Niners efficiently. It's not going. I'm not saying it's not going to do well, but I don't think it's going to be able to stop the run efficiently or not stop the Niners offense efficiently. It honestly all depends on how well Jalen Hurts can play. And if he can play well, you have a better chance of winning the football game.
Yeah. So for me, it just goes down to the tight ends. So George Kittle against our linebackers. Because our linebackers, we don't do well against tight ends. And I know we did a good job against the Falcons, but it is just the Falcons. So on that being said, it's going to be a really fun game. And I actually have a bet going with CG Ruthless Sports. So whoever loses has to make a video shouting out, like, let's say I lose, right? I would have to make a video about subbing to CG Ruthless Sports. And if 49ers lose, same thing. It's nothing crazy. It's not like to take away your fandom and everything. It's just like a small little 1 minute video. Not bad.
Dude, I'm surprised CG didn't make it worse. I would have been like, bro, get yourself a Lance jersey.
Well, he actually tried to make it worse. He actually wanted me to dump like a red Gatorade in my head, but I'm like, my family's like really against Gatorade, so I'm like, that's not even allowed in our house. So I'm just like, yeah, I can't do that. Then the next thing, I forget the next thing, but it was like, yeah, I can't do that. And I was like, you know what? Let's just stick to this. It's easy. I have another one with Nate Talk Sports. So if the Eagles beat the Giants, same exact thing, which I think is going to happen. But how do you feel? I gotta ask this. I'm sorry. How do you feel about Melvin Gordon's run against the Giants?
Damn. The one thing about Melvin Gordon is that, like, I benched him. I benched him for Tyson Williams, running back for the what's it called, for the Baltimore Ravens, because I didn't expect Melvin Gordon to have such a big game, because obviously the Giants defense was a good defense last year, and he also sharing carries with Javonte Williams, the draft pick, the running back that they drafted. So I didn't expect him to play well. And when I go back and check, I'm like, he had 21 points. He could have won me fantasy by like double digit points. I won fantasy just by like this much. I won my fantasy like 144 to like 135. It was like the one thing about the game, right? Because now that I play fantasy, I'm like, dude, overtime comes. I'm like, bro, Darren Waller, please don't give the ball to Darren Waller. Please don't give the ball to Darren Waller. Because Darren Waller was on his team. And I'm like, bro. I was like, I'm going to start Tyson. Hopefully he plays well. And the only 2 guys that I had on my team from the Monday Night Football game was Tyson and Daniel Carlson, which was the kicker for the Raiders. So I was like, bro, please don't have Darren Waller. Don't have like a 200-yard game.
So this is my fantasy league I was in, and I had Melvin Gordon in. But if this would load, come on, get me to the freaking matchup here. That would be nice. Oh, there we go. That would be. And dude, I was up by like a little bit. Then my friend he called me. He was like, Mitch, how did Melvin Gordon get from 3 points to 21? And I'm like, huh? No, he did not. And I look, 20.30. I'm like, what the hell? In my other league, I had him benched. I forget who I started. But I was like, he saved me. Because look here. He had Tyreek Hill, Russell Wilson, and his running backs did okay. He was like complaining about they should have done a little better. But it was like, hey, I got the win because of Melvin Gordon. I'm telling you, that was the best move I ever made. That was so lucky. Yo, what's good, Richie? How's it going, man? Just make sure you hit that like button and go subscribe to my man, Amin the Dream. He's a great 49ers content creator. He really knows his stuff. I love his knowledge of the game. Please go show to him. Links in the description. All right, and we're about to close this off. So, is there anything you would like to say, Amin, before I close this off?
Subscribe to Mitch.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch, all right?
All right, man.
All right, guys. Just hold on one second here. I just got to do one thing. If I could actually find it, that would be really nice. Oh, here it is, guys. I'll catch you later. And then boom. Well, see you guys. Lindy, good seeing you, bro.
You're seeing
Yeah, another good Eagles content creator. He's very smart. So go subscribe to Lindy, please. Go do it. All right, guys. Peace.